Hi class, welcome to Body Paragraphs 101. I like to use the hamburger method for body paragraph notes, but you might be used to something called racer, or other teachers use a model called trees. Basically, all of these methods have the same goal in mind, a really organized paragraph where you're providing evidence for the points that you're making in your essay. I just like the visual of the hamburger. You have the bun as your topic sentence, kind of keeps things nice with the bottom bun. That's how everything is held together. The burger of the hamburger is going to be the meat, the most important part, the analysis. Our context and our embedded and cited quotes kind of add in the little bit of flavor. And the burger is so delicious that we do everything inside twice. We want a double burger. Having that double burger is going to kind of really feed and fuel us as readers and writers. So it's just kind of a cutesy way of remembering what to include within your body paragraphs. If you scroll down to our note-taking chart, we're going to talk about each component. Your topic sentence is going to be a single sentence. The purpose of this topic sentence is to give an overview of what the paragraph will be about. The thing to keep in mind here is you really want to focus on a single reason why your thesis is true based on what happens in the text. It's a really good idea to think about a moment in the plot that helps to prove the point of your thesis statement and to look for your quotations and to base your body paragraph around that. But you want to keep it idea-based. You want to ask yourself, well, why or how does this prove my thesis true? So for our do's, we are going to make sure that we're being idea-based. You only use the plot to explain your idea. This is where most of our topic sentence issues come into play, but the more we practice it, the easier it will get. Here's an example from The Giver. This would be a good topic sentence. One reason why Jonas gains age and experience throughout the novel is because as the receiver, he learns a lot about the concept of love when he begins to develop feelings for Fiona. So we're talking about gaining age and experience through becoming the receiver and understanding love. It's based in the text, but it's not just summarizing what happens, it's explaining why it's important. So that's a key here. As for the don'ts, don't just state a plot fact. You want to avoid talking about more than one plot point. Keep your topic sentence focused on a single reason why the thesis is true. Remember, you have what's called the burden of proof here. You have to show your reader that it's true using the text. So keeping yourself very narrowly focused is super important here. You always want to avoid a quote or a question for your topic sentence. Your topic sentence needs to be a bold statement that you're making in support of the thesis. For your tip here, it's always a really good idea once you've written your thesis statement to brainstorm all of the different plot points related to your thesis. So what could I talk about to prove that my idea is true? Once you've completed that brainstorm, basically everything that you've listed on your brainstorm is a different idea for a different body paragraph. Choose one that you're going to focus in on for the paragraph here. We're going to move on to context for the first quote. Whenever you're doing the quotes, you're going to pull your quotes first. So you're going to go into the text, you're going to decide what two quotes to do, and then you'll start to work on each quotation. But for the first quotation that you choose, you're going to provide 1 to 2 sentences of context. The purpose here is plot summary. You're going to set up what's happening in the story connected to the quotation that you're choosing. So remember back to our steal activity, plot summary. You're going to keep the plot summary pretty short here, 1 to 2 sentences, really focusing in on what's happening when this quote occurs. So for your do's, you want to make sure that you ask yourself what's happening in the story. The more specific you can get, the better. On the don't end of things, you want to make sure you're avoiding being really general. Don't say Jonah has an experience. Talk about what experience he's having. You don't need a lot of description, but you need to be specific with what you say. So remember, being concise is saying what you need to say, but really thinking about your word choice so that you're not rambling on. When you bring in your first quote, it's always a good thing to think about it as a single sentence. You're going to embed and cite your quote. We've talked about citing a little bit, but we'll talk about it more when we do our embedding lesson. Embedding is going to be a whole separate activity and lesson because it's a really important skill. So bringing in our quote, the purpose of this is textual evidence, proving what you are saying is true by drawing your reader into the text to see the example. So evidence is very, very important here. For your do's, you want to make sure that your quote is directly connected to your topic sentence. So look at your quote, look at your topic sentence. If they are not intimately connected, you're not doing what you're supposed to do here. I'm going to talk about both quotes here, even though we're looking at quote 1. Both of your quotes should be about the same plot point that you introduced in your topic sentence. You're going to want to embed and cite the quote, and so it's going to stand as a single sentence in your essay. We'll do more info on embedding, but basically we're incorporating a part of the quote into our own writing. For our don'ts, this is addressing some of the elements with the embedding process. It's okay when you're pulling a quote to pull a full quote, but when you're going to embed it, you're only going to embed a piece of it. You want to avoid taking more than one sentence from the quote. Ideally, you're going to take the most essential part of the sentence, typically between 10 and 20 words max. And you want to avoid a dropped quote. You don't want to just take a quotation and stick it in as its own sentence. This will get clearer the more we practice with embedding, which is our next lesson and activity after solidifying body paragraphs. Tip: use the quote because it proves something. Don't use it because it continues plot summary. If you can't answer why it's important, if you just used it because it explains the plot a little bit more, it's not doing its job. Analysis is the burger, the meat of this delicious hamburger that we're eating. And so it's the most important part. 3 to 4 sentences of analysis for each quote. And you really want to think about this as your explanation of how and why the quote proves your argument. So that connects to both your thesis and your topic sentence. So you're getting into your really deep level critical thinking here. In this case, you want to show off those deeper level critical thinking skills. You want to ask yourself the question of why this quote is important, connected to your big idea. You want to repeat the language of the big idea used in the prompt here. Remember, your goal is to answer the question of the prompt, so you want to be using that language. For your don'ts, pretty simple here. Avoid summarizing the quote. You have the quote right there. You don't need to restate it in your own words. We already know what it says. Avoid phrases like "in this quote" or "this quote shows." We don't want to use the language of the essay writing. So structural things like "my thesis," "this proves the thesis because," "this quote shows," "in this quote." Just get rid of that phrasing and get right into the meat of the analysis. The tip here is kind of a repeat from part of the do's. Use that prompt language. So if the prompt asks you about age and experience, you better be using those terms in your analysis because it'll help keep you focused. Now, we're moving into our second quote. We always want to have more than one quote, more than one piece of evidence, because having more evidence can show just how deeply true our ideas are. So you just get to copy and paste here. For context for quote 2, you're going to do the exact same thing that you did for context for quote 1. So I'm going to copy paste. Same thing. Your information, your notes for quote 1 are going to be the same for quote 2. Both of those quotes are going to be about the same event. And then your analysis. So quote choice becomes really important, and you really want to keep that focused in. Last but not least, we have our concluding sentence notes. If you think about the hamburger method, you need the top bun and the bottom bun to keep everything in place. It wraps everything up in a nice little bow. So our purpose is to just summarize the main point of the paragraph. This is kind of just an organizational element where you're putting your ideas together. Avoid language like in conclusion. You don't need that kind of scaffolding at this point in your writing career. For your do's, it's a good idea to refer back to your topic sentence. You want to refer back to your topic sentence because your whole entire paragraph is supposed to focus on what you say in your topic sentence. If you're getting off topic in any way, if you are moving into a different point, a different idea, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So making sure your topic sentence, your concluding sentence, and everything in between is focused is just a good editing step. As for a don't, the hard part about a concluding sentence is you're really summarizing the same idea as your topic sentence, but you want to avoid the same language. So it's good to reference back to the topic sentence to see how you phrased it and then to think about another way to do this. That's only going to be one sentence. We'll do a lot of color coding for this. The color coding is going to help you stay organized as you're learning the process. But, body paragraph writing takes some practice. We're going to have a separate video for embedding quotes, but this is really where we get into our analytical skills. Feel free to use this video as a body paragraph review. Stop and pause as need be for your notes, but be sure to get these notes down. This is going to be important. We're going to use this throughout the rest of the year. Thanks, everybody.